Greetings folks, do you like to bully people? What about magical war crimes? Or hey, is that a barbarian stronghold full of enemies? Now it's an in and out burger joint because everything inside became mincemeat. This is a full critical mage build, insanely strong, capable of destroying veteran difficulty content incredibly easy. We can self-heal, we have access to insane crowd control without any relics or fancy upgrades. In this video I will show you where to get weapons, armors, but more importantly spells. The way this build works, it really doesn't matter what spells you use as long as you have the right ones. One note before I begin, you can find the location of every single druid shrine in the last section of this video. And please, if you find this video helpful, hit that like button, subscribe for more gaming and possibly range content. That was cringy. Okay, let's look at our stats. Naturally, spirituality is our main stat. Not only we needed to use spells, but it's also one of the two main attributes that we need for our gear. On our main setup, this build rocks 345 spell power, but more importantly, we are sitting at 100% crit. The reason is, depending on your gear and the choices that you make, you might need more points in perception than me or not. However, I will still advise you to focus first on spirituality and endurance, and then put the rest of the point in perception. Extra points in perception also will boost our critical damage, so it's not bad overall. First one is gonna be perception. Perception is necessary to get extra critical chance, but as I said, you should take this one later on. And then, more importantly, critical cascade, and for last, go for the eyes, because that 40% critical damage, you really feel it. Even when you're not 100% crit, it's still a lot. Our main investment is gonna be in spirituality. Of course, mana. Mana regeneration is not needed immediately. It's something that you will need when you play around with the Spell Gorge wand. Otherwise, you don't need this. You want to have invigorating energy. Sorcerer's efficiency, we need it for sustain. Eldritch Desperation, rarely you will end up with below 30% mana, unless it's super hard fight, and even then, use potions. Get power in swiftness as one of your first point. It's just one, it's always useful. We are using a wand, we don't use soul cubes. The main benefit of the wand, well, they don't have requirement, they're always up compared to cubes. Wand of Mastery is quite important, it will buff radically our wands. And then we want energy feedback loop just for that mana recovery. Well, this is a no-brainer. Spell power, get embedded by the elements immediately, as soon as you can, especially when you're getting your Winter's Crones Wrath. That's how we build up stacks and freeze enemies. Other status effects are kinda interesting. Burn is strong, Poisoned is strong. They deal a percentage of the enemy's max HP. Elemental Infusion, again, no-brainer. Elemental Shock is useful, especially when you want to deal with trash and you just want to one-shot stuff. Now, Tiresome Wave is not as powerful because we hit so hard that we really don't notice the stamina drain. Get impactful spellcasting first, because this one doesn't rely on crit. This is how this build survive. We freeze, we stun. Get this one later, when your crit is already at a good level. I'll say above 50%. Exploitation of Affliction is kinda good. When you have an active status on them, this doesn't mean build up, okay? This means when the status is up. And then Stacking Peril. This only if you're playing around with dots. Well, naturally, you can always switch with your wands and use different spells when you're doing it. So it's up to you. Let's look at our gear. As you can see here, I have 4 different setups for wands. I'm using Spellgorger with Severing Ray. This is my main wand. The only problem is that this consumes a lot of mana. Then we have Wand of Piercing Cold with Hailstorm. Hailstorm is long range, it's hard, amazing freeze. If you're not using Hailstorm, you want to use Winter's Crown Wrath. The only difference is that Winter's Crown Wrath will require you to stay melee. Wand of Lingering Ash is gonna be paired up with Searing Cinder. If you do not want to use this one, you have, of course, Fire Rune, amazing AoE. Scorching Blaze, it will hit harder than Searing Cinder. The mana cost is gonna be much higher. You can also use, if you want, Scorching Pathway. It's a very respectful spell. Next setup, Festering Rot. This is amazing if you want to play with dots. If you want to use this wand, you can pair up this with the Blood Ring, and then you apply 2 dots at a time. The only problem is that, however, some enemies are resistant to bleed, so you will not have the full benefits. So for poison, Vine Lash. If you do not want to use Vine Lash, you have Toxic Dart. Now let's look at our gear. Wings of the Oracle. You get this in Act 2 main quest, you cannot miss it. Queen's Crown. You get this in Act 2 main quest, you cannot miss it. Royal Gloves. Royal Slippers. In Act 2, you will get to a point where you need to decide. Do not side with the mushroom or you cannot loot this, okay? We are using 2 Archdruid pieces. Now, for the chest, I'm using Usurper. You can also use Royal Gown. The problem with Royal Gown is that sometimes it has a visual bug. So I used Usurper. Plus, to be honest, I like Usurper visuals more compared to this. What about Helm? You will use Queen's Crown. The other option for Helm, Archdruid, you will lose a lot of crit in exchange for spell power, and more importantly, critical hits will restore 20 mana. So this means that if you're struggling with sustain, just use Archdruid. For rings, you have 2 options. I went with the mana options because, as I said, Spellgorger kinda ties my hands, especially in longer fights. If you don't want to use this one, you have critical strike increase rings you can use. You can always use a blood ring if you're playing with dots. Early gear and spells. Let's get through the tutorial. I suggest to not skip this because we can get the Apprenticed Amulet in the Sunken Ship. But if you don't care, you can easily replace it, so just skip if you want. There is also the mana ring that you can get by giving a healing potion to the Horned Lady. Our starting choices are gonna be Healer, and our main spell early Act 1 is gonna be Blood Transfusion. Don't heavy attack. This spell is amazing, just use Light Cast and proc those bleeds, and stuff will die. And don't worry if you hate this spell, Act 1 has so many spells for you to replace it. Starting attributes. I wanna get 10 points in Endurance and 10 points in Spirituality by the time you end the act. Focus on Spirituality first. If you're using Battle Mage set, you will want to have 11 points of Spirituality. First set is super easy to get and has no requirement. It's the Druid set. Then get the Mana Regeneration Ring and your first weapon, Silent Weaver, by digging them out. Kill Cuddlebog if you want, it's free XP. And we are strong enough. If you didn't kill him in the tutorial, however, get that permanent free HP upgrades from him. Up to you, makes little difference. Your first priority is gonna get every Druid Shrine. This is gonna be the same in every single act. It doesn't matter. It's not just for the gear, but for the bonus as well. Also, every time that you complete the entire shrines, you get a free spell. Start of the game, we don't have a lot of mana, so there is no point in rushing the super powerful spells. However, there are some items that you need to get. The first one is optional, but I suggest to get the Bleed Ring. Worst case scenario, give up the max mana ring you got in the tutorial. If you're not playing around dots, don't bother with the Bleed Ring. After we deal with the bounty in the Forgotten Fortress, we have 2 important spells to get here. The first one is on the door, Thunderlash. Get it, super important. It's an amazing spell, it also makes it easier to hit enemies that are hard to aim at. Also, the cost is not super high compared to the second spell we can get here. It's in a locked chest and it's called Scorching Ray. Scorching Ray does way more damage and it's AoE. However, the mana cost is kinda prohibiting at first. There is also another spell we can get and we should get is Scorch Pathway. It's a very powerful fire AoE spell, very large range, especially on heavy cast. You can get this from the Drowned Village, no requirement. Last spell that we really need to get, and please do not skip on this one, it's the Cold Shotgun, the Wintercrown Fury. There is a cave, it's hidden but it's not too hard to find. This instance is also tied to the Alchemy Guild questline, but you can get the spell whenever you want. Spells are done, let's get the wand. We need to get 3 in this act. The first one is the Fire Wand, which is super easy to get, just requires some jumping. It's the Wand of Lingering Ash. it's close to the Arch Spire. Save before you attempt the jump because fall damage is especially annoying. The poison one is super easy to get. Just when you have access to the Old Mother Temple, you steal it. Simple. The most important wand, however, it's the Wand of Piercing Cold. This wand will allow us to pretty much, if an enemy can be frozen, it will die. It's extremely powerful. However, to get it first, we need to get the letter here, and we do the quest line. Everything here is pretty much straightforward, except the Fort Dweller. You go in the cave below the Old Mother Temple, you get through the entire small dungeon here, and then you just interact with the bot, and you get the finger here, and then bam, you get your wand. Okay, for armors, you have several options in this act. You have the Druid set, which is good. You have the Spellslinger set, which is also good. And then you have the Battle Mage that you can find a little more hidden in this friendly Druid cave. Mid-game gear and spells, we should arrive in Act 2 easy. Parrot Water builds, the difficulty spike is gonna be much lower. Get the Druid Shrines. Act 2 doesn't have a lot of spells, because we collected spells that were meant for Act 2 in Act 1 already. However, we can get Vigor Drain, which is not really that great in my opinion. And then you have like a bunch of summon spells. Some of them are actually very good, but we are a pure mage and we cannot afford to use summons because we are gonna push our mana cost so high that it's not a good idea. We also have the upgraded version of Hailstone. For cold spell we can get here, which is Frost Needle. I don't like it too much personally, but if you want to use it, up to you. But more importantly, Act 2 has the best wand in the game, the Spell Gorger. You get these hidden in the Corrupted Temple instance. Don't rush this wand because we don't have enough mana to sustain it for now. Also, you need to go in the Corrupted Temple for the main story. So you don't want to come here again 2 times, believe me. If you didn't do the Blood Cave, there is also a Life Transfusion spell you can get in the Ogre Fortress. In this act, I put 15 points of Spirituality and 15 points of Endurance, just so that you know. With our Cold Wand and the Cold Spell Shotgun, the act becomes so easy. There is gonna be one boss that we cannot freeze in this act. Do not get overconfident with that spell or you get bricked. If you are struggling to stay alive, Maggot sells a shield spell. If you do not know where Maggot is, follow the main quest. It will mitigate 35% of our damage. Doesn't sound like it's a lot, but it's still something. The only way that you can feel you are struggling on this build, if you are skipping too many side quests and you're just following the main quest through the acts, and then you're gonna be too low level and you would notice the difficulty. If you complete every single Druid Shrine, you also get a spell, which is kinda like a lightning trap storm thing. It's strong, however it's a bit clunky, especially in veterans, this can get you killed. However, what you can do is you can always freeze enemy, then you place your storm, and then you detonate, up to you. I will say this again, some of the gear that I need requires you to not side with the mushroom in Act 2, or you lose access to a lootable set. I don't know if you can still kill the NPC, just in case, don't risk it. End game gear and spells. Okay, perfect. Act 3 is gonna be extremely rewarding when it comes to spell, I assure you. And before you ask, yes, do the Druid Shrines. Completing all the Druid Shrines will give us access to Vine Lash, which is a powerful poison spell. First of all, if you progress through the Alchemist Guild quest, you lock Alva, and she can sell you a couple of spells, however, they really are not that great. Let's get the Fire Rune spell. It's funny, it's a way, you can get this as soon as you enter in Act 3. Amazing. Another one is the upgraded Ice spell, and you should get this one. It's amazing, high damage, low mana cost. Then we have the upgraded Fire spell, which is why I said the Alchemist was not important. This one is fairly tricky to get, because you need to travel all across that side of the map. Don't skip this spell, it's gonna be our main spell, it's gonna be our hardest hitting spell, it's called Severing Ray. It's easy to get. On your way to the Druid Shrine, it's in the Undead Fortress. Only issue with this spell is that hitting giants is gonna be impossible. This is why we have several setups. Okay, this is endgame setup. You don't need to do any tomb or finishing the story. So you can skip most of the Act 3 quest in a minute. I actually did no Act 3 quest in this part because I already knew where my stuff was. You don't need to upgrade your gear. You don't need relics. You don't need to spend gold. As a mage, it doesn't matter. We are gods. Most important thing, in case you skip the perk section, get that critical spell chance to 100 in a minute. If you want to go the extra mile, invest in precision. You can drop some gear that has critical requirement for more spell power, if you want to get the build even stronger. Well, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'm leaving you with the Druid Shrine's location. Have fun. See you.